As we move along to the third term, we continue to play our part as an SLTU to monitor, to engage the Ministry of Education, to question, and to give intervention or advice to them, hoping that they would implement some of the measures that we would have agreed to.
President of the Saint Lucia Teachers Union, Don Howell, speaking ahead of the scheduled reopening of school earmarked for April 19, 2021, notes the benefits of face-to-face tuition for students whose education has been unduly interrupted by the waves of the pandemic.
Educators always want to see their students face-to-face. They always want to. The issue at hand has always been that of health and safety. And so the educators, by and large, are very hopeful that there can be some measure of stability in the education system as we move forward.
It is with this push to get back to physical classes that Howell implores Ministry of Education officials to ensure checks and balances are in order. The SLTU president also points to the issue of adequate resources needed during the pandemic to ward off the virus. Howell has challenged officials to engage in active reflection of the ill-fated January reopening of school.
The gray areas that we had in January was that if a case were to emerge in a school, the time lapse that it took before you actually knew whether it was positive, whether it was negative, to make important decisions about the continuity of education, that time frame was too long.
The SLTU president recommends greater coordination between the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health on prioritizing testing for the sector. Moreover, Howell touts active monitoring of the physical plants to ensure compliance with COVID-19 protocols. The Ministry of Health has announced its vaccination for teachers, administrators, principals, and staff of learning institutions. Howell says, despite the rollout, strict adherence to protocols will remain the path taken by the SLTU.
Does the SLTU feel confident in having teachers return to school without both doses of the vaccine?
Let me just indicate that we are not the medical professionals. And so the SLTU will allow the medical professionals to speak about vaccination and to give information about the vaccines. What we know is that whether there's a vaccine or not, it does not absorb the Ministry of Education from its responsibility in ensuring that it provides the resources necessary for schools. Whether there's vaccine or not, the protocols must be adhered to. The resources are needed to ensure that the education system remains stable.
As for parents whose confidence levels in the return to the physical classrooms have been shaken and prefer their children continue to learn from home, the SLTU president says this remains in the hands of the Ministry of Education. Lucia Alfred, HTS News Force.